Welcome to Police Off the Cuff, real crime stories, coffee with Cannon, backyard beverage. I got my beat up Montauk Point hat on today, and I haven't worn this in a while. Probably should retire it. Should be thrown into the ocean probably, but I didn't retire it yet. So you folks coming into the show, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to wait till a few more of you get here before I start talking about the last night's show and things that we covered and things coming up and Police Off the Cuff and how we're growing. And Mary, there's Mary. Hello, Mary. London girl. Brad R's in the house. And BB2. Thank you for the shout out. Ryan Investigative Group, Bill Ryan. Rita, hi y'all. That must be coming from down south. Lori Ellen, hello. Pamela White, good morning, yesterday. You wake up and time has slipped away, and suddenly you've got to find the memory you left behind. Remember, do you remember the times of your life? I don't know, that tune just came to me somewhere. Right in less than a minute. Hi from Arizona. Arizona must be super, super hot today because it's hot in the Northeast. But Arizona, Magical Mary, there she goes. Good afternoon, Magical Mary. So good to see you. CC Ryder, Tennessee, love your channel. Thank you, CC Ryder. Jennifer Ashworth, Santa Monica, one of the most beautiful places in the world, Santa Monica. Pamela White, love it, memories. Yeah, there's so many songs like that, right? You know, I was listening to the other day, I was on, before I get into talking about the Gilgo case, I just want to talk a little bit. Sergeant George Ishag, how are you? Dawn Marie, great to see you. Yeah, I know there's a press conference with Suffolk PD. I'll give it a look later. I don't think they're really talking that much about what's been recovered. I think they want to keep certain things close to the vest. So anyway, I was listening to on Spotify Waylon Jennings. I love his music, and all of a sudden, all the great country songs that I like. Not everyone likes country music. I happen to like it. And there's a tune by George Jones called "If Drinking Don't Kill Me, Her Memory Will." And it's such a classic country western tune. You know, if you never heard it, just go on Spotify or somewhere, search it. George Jones, "If Drinking Don't Kill Me," it's called. And basically it catches such, the downright loneliness and horror of being an alcoholic, And if drinking don't kill me, her memory will. So, little Linda, hello, how are you? Good to see you. Yeah, all right, guys, so let's talk about last night's show. I understand big time, Rita loves George Jones, that there was a big problem with this investigation, but I didn't want to make that what this show was about. And I acknowledged it, and again, there's so many people, in my opinion, there's so many police haters out there that I don't have to open up the police for more hatred by a lot of people that don't know what they're talking about. You see Rolling Stone magazine jumped all over it. Yeah, they're experts in serial killer investigation. But again, we can't ignore it. There was problems with this investigation. And what I chose to really focus upon was how great a job they did since Rodney Harrison has been police commissioner. And about a year and a half he's been police commissioner, 2022, 2021. And that's what I wanted to really focus upon. Now, we can all Monday morning quarterback and say, oh, if you killed more people, the police are responsible for that. Look, as I said last night, there's every profession on this earth makes mistakes, and I don't need to list all of them. Doctors, lawyers, pilots, politicians, every day they're a walking mistake. Journalists just do what they're told to do, So for them just to go after, and again, we talk about Chief Burke, he went to prison. We talk about the district attorney, Spoda. He went to prison. What else do you want us to say? You know? Now this investigation, should it have been solved early? Yeah, but we don't know if they had, well, look, if they had proper leadership, if there was a good leader running this case, yeah, probably would have been solved earlier. But they did get good leadership. They do with Rodney Harrison, with District Attorney Tierney, with this task force team they put together, Suffolk County Police, Suffolk County DA's office, Suffolk County Sheriff's Office, the FBI, right? And the New York State Police, a team that no perpetrator is going to defeat. So they put this team together and they did a fantastic job. Now, I choose not to dwell on the negative. And there's many people out there, you know, people out there calling me an idiot. I don't know what I'm talking about. Oh my God, you showed you didn't know anything about CODIS. CODIS is a very, very complicated subject, you know. And I defy even people that are experts in DNA to define everything that the CODIS database does. The district attorney today, I saw a little bit of the press conference, they said, oh, is Rex Heuermann's DNA now in CODIS? And guess what, folks? He's not in CODIS. And you know why? Anyone want to guess before I give you the answer? The answer is he's not in CODIS because he's not convicted yet. So the CODIS database of convicted, certain convictions. However, they do, Teresa Dunn, yes, exactly, he's not convicted. However, they have an exemplar of his DNA, and they obtain that surreptitiously. Now, they could actually get a court order, a search warrant, if they wish to get another sample of his DNA, in case there's any legal ramifications from a judge. They can get a court order for him to turn over his DNA, although they already have the exemplar. So as far as I know, and I'm not an attorney, they could use the exemplar. And maybe to be safe, they might want to get a court order to get his DNA that way. And then to have it put in a local database, a statewide database, and a national database. And again, to do that, we may need him to be convicted. So, but they can still have his DNA to check against forensic hits. Remember I spoke last night about CODIS being two categories of DNA in CODIS. And again, CODIS stands for Combined DNA Index System or Identification System, right? There's two types of DNA. And the DNA that we're concerned with is forensic DNA. And forensic DNA is DNA that is taken from crime scenes. And it's unknown who it belongs to. Now, one of the things I found out also through my research was that much of that DNA from crime scenes is never tested. You know why? Because of money. Money. Yes, money. So the forensic DNA is not, Peter Pranzo, great energized show last night, Bill. Thank you, Lieutenant Pete. It was a little more bombastic than I would have preferred, but that's okay. Melanie's a great guest, and she has her opinions. But also, people have to realize, and our subscribers, our fans, our friends, we are a true crime, real crime show from a police perspective. If I want the ACLU in here, I'll bring someone in here from the ACLU, but I don't want their perspective. They have their perspective, let them get their own show, you know. We do true crime, real crime from a police perspective, and we say that at the outset of the show, so no one can say, oh, you're so biased towards police. I just told you, we're giving you true crime from a police perspective. Vintage, yeah, I see that they're doing a press conference now in regards to Rex Heuermann. I'll take a look at it later, and maybe I'll even go on later in regards to that press conference. However, I wanted to sort of do a Coffee with Cannon show to get outside where it's beautiful here. A beautiful day. Join you guys coming in. Maybe that's why we don't have a huge audience, 107 in the chat, 45 with the thumbs up. Maybe some folks are watching the press conference now. But I'll cover that later on. Tonight, there's a premiere of, I have a new show on my channel called Law and Crime Author Series. And the first show is going to be Michael O'Keefe, who's a writer, an author, retired NYPD first grade detective. And he was famous for getting in a shooting with a perp named Kiko Garcia, a life or death fight. And luckily, Michael O'Keefe came out on top of that. And Pablo Cicada, good to see you, buddy. And he wrote a book called Shot to Pieces, which has a lot to do with the Washington Heights riots from 1992 and that incident that I'm talking about right now with Kiko Garcia. So yes, it's going to be premiered tonight at 7 p.m. Yes, Wendy, I know his brother went to prison for a DWI accident where he killed somebody. And I'm sure that there's a deeper dive investigation into his family members that is below the surface right now. You know, there was a lot of this story with Amber Costello. Again, ATS News, thank you so much. Again, good show, but bombastic in a way. We were arguing a little bit, and you know, there's room for that. Wendy Kraft said it wasn't that, it was a bar fight. Okay, you know, something we can agree and we can disagree. You know, what only thing I don't like about it is when you get these trolls coming in from the outside that know nothing, and they just want to be belligerent and they want to make negative comments. And just so they know, that's good. They can have their 10 seconds in the sun because I get rid of them and they'll never be allowed on my channel again, you know, because that's not what it's about. You want to make comments, that's fine. You want to make comments that don't agree with me or someone on my show, that's fine. But once you get nasty, see ya, hate to be you know. Yes, I know that Rex Heuermann's brother got involved in a car accident where he was driving drunk. Not the show, his brother Craig was in a bar fight. The show was great. Well, thank you so much. Aunt BB2 is in the house. 113 in the chat, 61 with the thumbs up. Guys, this is Police Off the Cuff, Backyard Beverage, Bitchin' with Bill, whatever you want to call it. But lots of moderating. Yeah, Lieutenant Pete, I'm sure you earned your pay last night. You had your work cut out for you. All moderators were busy last night. Duty Ron told me he was watching and he was jettisoning quite a few people out of the chat. Hey, it happens, you know, it happens. Carmelita, hey, I'm late, but here was gardening before I have to sleep to work tonight. Great show. Carmelita, thank you so much. Thank you for your support. Carmelita, I love that name, Carmelita. The mods did great. Yes, you mods were fantastic. You know, when I get so involved in a show like that, I can't check the chat as much as I would like to. I'm concentrating. I'm doing too many things, you know, too many things at once. So thank you, mods. Fantastic job. You kept the knockout punches off me. I got a few glancing blows, but nothing put me to the canvas. So in Westchester, on Long Island, the weather is absolutely beautiful. Talks to Angels. You're gaining subscribers, must be doing something right. Yes, and I'm very thankful for that. Gaining subscribers is, you know, sometimes you can go the other way too, and I've been there too. I've been where the show started losing subscribers, so I don't take anything for granted. I realize you got to keep on your A game and keep giving perspectives, but stay true to yourself. I'm going to stay true to myself. People want to say, oh, you cops, you this. So many people, it's so easy also for the press. Wouldn't you love people to critique the press every day? The way they do critique everyone else, the way they make up stuff about everyone else. I would love to see people, you know, critique MSNBC, CNN, Fox, ABC, NBC, CBS. Let them get critiqued every day the way they critique other people, you know. Ronnie Tear, East Meadow, Long Island. I told you, Ronnie, I grew up in Levittown, Long Island, so I know the area very well. East Meadow, Long Island, just right next door to Levittown, you know, where I grew up. Shari Boy, I liked the banter back and forth last night. It was great. Love you, Sergeant Bill. Love you. From Boise, Idaho. Wow, Boise. Shari Boyle, I always see you in the chat, Shari. Welcome. Thanks for stopping by. Yes, that was one of the reasons I love you. You're so honest to us and yourself. You deserve all the success. Hats coming your way. Thank you, Carmelita. That's very kind of you, you know. But, you know, something we know as cops, I know as working as a professor, you're not going to be internationally loved by everyone. There's going to be people, no matter who you are, what you say, they're not going to like you, you know, and that's just life. That's just the way it is. And you all know that. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Not everyone is going to love you. You know, there's people that are going to disagree with you. There's going to be people that don't like you because of who you are, what you stand behind. And that's okay. There's other channels for you. But as long as you are civil and you want to watch this channel, the truth, build you as a rider or push more for, well, the truth, to tell you the truth, I don't cut it. I have a landscape and he has a ride mower that's very fast. They come through this property. This property is about an acre and they come through here like bees. The next thing they're here, and the next thing I'm like, wow, that was the fastest I've ever seen a lawn cut. It's incredible. So I cannot take credit for cutting the grass because I do not do it, but they do a hell of a job on a ride mower. So yeah. So guys, I know that, yeah, the truth, those riders do zip around. They go really fast. In fact, the other day they cut the grass and it was wet. And so they got stuck and they were spinning out and all kinds of stuff. And you're really not supposed to, Angie Carson, I have much respect for police officers. You guys were arguing, but you did it with so much respect for each other. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Look, I've known Melanie for years, and we first met in an acting class. And Melanie's a hell of an actor. And you can see by the way she presents her show and when she's on my show. And I really enjoyed acting too, but we were all going to classes in person. I don't know, this one class I was in with Melanie, I was in that class for like 3 years. And then COVID hit and you couldn't really take acting class in person anymore. So people started taking it on Zoom, and I didn't want to take it on Zoom. I felt that taking it on Zoom was not the same thing. Joanna Blasich, my math teacher, how are you? Holly Golightly, good to see you. Some blast from the past. Pauline Buckles is in the chat. I love some of these names, are amazing, you know. Some of the tags and the handles you have. You know, one of the things, and I haven't seen this individual on TV, but people told me he's making the rounds, the guy David Schaller, who was supposedly the boyfriend of Amber Costello. And he was, Joanne Blasich, good to see you. He's the one giving all this information as if he told it exact in 2010 to the police. And I don't know, I don't have access to the case folder. However, let's also realize he planned the ripoff of the John. So what is his, and the John being Rex Heuermann. And if you know that story, right? That came right out of Rodney Harrison's mouth. They did a ruse that was basically like to rip the guy off. And so I don't think he's without sin, you know, and I don't know if he's without being in that profession himself, without naming the profession he is in. World Gone Nuts. Oh, I love that name. The world is gone nuts, right? Grain, good morning yesterday. When I'm outside, I got to do, well, when you talk a lot, you have to keep wetting the whistle, right? You have to keep your pipes wet, right? So it's like the David Schaller, who's now coming up with such a clear information that he gave the police in 2010. We can either believe it or not believe it. Colleen, how are you? Good to see you, Colleen. 150 in the chat, 94 with the thumbs up. This is Coffee with Cannon, Backyard Beverage, Bitchin' with Bill. Coffee, Cuffs, and Cannon. Love that song, Times of Our Lives, Sunset Gazing. Yes. You know, in 2012, District Attorney Tierney says that detectives connected the victims to the burner phones. But at that specific time, I don't think they connected the burner phones to the cell sites that had Massapequa Park and Manhattan near Fifth Avenue. Coffee, Cuffs, and Candid Cannon. That's right, Erica Olson. Thank you for reminding me. I get it wrong all the time. Coffee, Cuffs, and Candid Cannon. Welcome everyone to the show. And folks, anyone in the chat, anyone just joining us for today, if you're not subscribed, go on our YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and ring that bell, okay? So yeah, District Attorney Tierney said in 2012, the detectives did connect the victims to the burner phone. Someone saying something else about David Schaller. It went by so quickly. You know, that's one of the things, like when you were on the police department, when someone was a witness or gave you information or was talking, the first thing you would do is run their criminal history. Let's find out who this person is. Let's find out if this person is really telling the truth. And one of the ways to ascertain whether they're telling the truth or not is to run their criminal history and say, have you ever been arrested before? And when they say never, and you have a rap sheet of 10 pages in front of you and say, okay, so let's start out right away. You're lying. You've been arrested 10 times. What was this arrest about? What was that arrest? So it's something you can use to get them to tell or to see if they're telling the truth. The way Tierney answered the question about the storage room, I think you said it seemed as though it wasn't that important. Was that what you were saying? It went by so quickly. 2 cents, am I Columbo or what? Colleen in the chat. 167 in the chat. 105 with the thumbs up. This is, again, guys, if you're new to this, you're not subscribed, go on to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and ring that bell. Ring my bell, ring my bell, right? Bill, how many different grades of detective are there in the NYPD? Seems like this. Pablo, there's 3 grades. They start out as a detective investigator if they're in a squad. And there's actually, if they're in a squad, that's a 3rd grade. And then when you get promoted, the next level, 2nd grade, a 2nd grade detective makes sergeant's pay. And then a 1st grade detective makes lieutenant's pay. And that used to be, or it still is, a coveted rank, detective 1st grade, because not only do you make lieutenant's pay, but usually if you're in a unit that is heavily investigative, you can make a lot of overtime, which is how many detectives make a big portion of their income with overtime, right? But there's also a rank called detective specialist, and that's a detective specialist. Ryan Investigative Group, Bill Ryan wants to tell everyone he was a 1st grade detective. Congratulations, Bill. Bill Ryan was a bomb squad detective, 1st grader. So, and those specialties also come with a lot of prestige, and also you learn a lot because they're always going to continuing education to learn things about their, what happened to Police Chief James Burke? Is he out of prison? I would imagine at this point he is out of prison. I don't know what happened to him after he got out of prison. And I would imagine that Burke was able to get his pension. And if I'm wrong, someone please Google that and tell me I'm wrong. But he was a chief. He probably retired before the criminal charges were completed, that he was found guilty. and he probably got his pension. And find that out. Someone Google that. I obviously can't do it because I'm on my phone. In fact, District Attorney Spoda, who I understand is 79 years old, is still in prison. The truth, Bill, based on what you've seen, you think Heuermann did it, and yes, do you think he will confess? I have no doubt that Heuermann did it. There's too many pieces of evidence that cannot be coincidental. As far as him confessing, no, I don't see him ever confessing. The only way, that's why the death penalty can be used as leverage, and there is no death penalty in New York State. Apparently, they outlawed the death penalty in New York State in 2014. So if they could have used that leverage to get someone like Rex Heuermann to confess or to cut a deal, they would surely use it. But since they don't have that as leverage anymore, he's going to get, if he gets convicted, he's going to get, Magical Mary, yes, Burke's got a pension. He gets $145,000 a year. So there you have it, folks. He went to prison, but he gets a pension. So I didn't doubt that that was going to be the case. Colleen, like they did with BTK. Well, yeah, but they don't have the leverage in New York State. And I spoke about, and several lawyers jumped all over me. Is there any chance on earth that they could charge this case federally, being that the feds have the death penalty? And if they could charge this case federally, then he'd be eligible for it. But I'm told, no, they can't charge this federally. Again, out of my, Ronnie Tier, though a lot of serial killers confess when caught. Usually not. Will he talk if he gets convicted and he goes to prison for the rest of his life? Will he then talk to psychologists, to journalists? Well, potentially, because they can't try him a second time. So, but at this point, in regards to his, I don't know if you saw his attorney speak. He goes, the attorney was like, I interviewed Rex the other day, and in tears, he said, I didn't do this. Yeah, okay. Keep crying, Rex, Wendy Kraft, he retired before the charges, before the conviction came down. That's how he was able to keep his pension. So that's your answer to that. 163 in the chat, 122 with the thumbs up. This is Coffee with Cannon, Backyard Beverage, Bitchin' with Bill. Welcome to the show. It's a beautiful day today. Again, last night's show was a lot high energy, actually, very high energy. One of the things that District Attorney Tierney, when he spoke about the investigation prior to it being taken over by Rodney Harrison and the task force that they established, that he said, and this was a quote right from him, that the information that they got from David Schaller in regards to Amber Costello was lost in a sea of tips. Now, people didn't like that answer. Marie Vidden, hi from Sweden. If they found the bodies in South Carolina, connect him to out-of-state murders, then maybe he could get the death penalty in another state. That's a possibility, if they can connect him to those cases. Now, we don't know if in fact they can connect him to those cases. Surely they're going to try, forensically, Again, his MO is to use booster phones, so burner phones. I always used to call them booster phones, so hard habits die hard. So burner phones, that's his MO. Did he use them with the victims in South Carolina or the victims in Jersey? Colleen, also in Nevada, they have the death penalty. Yes, so he potentially could in another state. But again, all of these things, guys, are down the road. Let's concentrate. Magical Mary, what is the speedy trial time? Well, I think that the prosecution has to answer ready within like 90 days. And then what usually happens in cases like this is the defense asks for a stay, much like they did in Idaho with Brian Koberger. So I believe it's, and again, if there's any attorneys out there, any prosecutors out there, I believe that it's 90 days for the prosecution. It has to answer ready. And then the defense usually will ask for a stay to put the case off so they can prepare, because they can't possibly have all the discovery information at that point. The discovery takes time to turn over to the defense. The discovery takes time for the defense to look at, to weigh, to see how they're going to argue the evidence. Again, you know, how, in this case, how are they going to argue the hairs, the 3 hairs on the body that came back to Rex Heuermann's wife? How can they argue that? Well, they're going to say, oh, it's contamination. Or where did the police store this evidence? It could have got there erroneously. How did they explain the hair on one of the bodies belonging to Rex Heuermann? Oh, the police planted it. That's usually what their defense is going to be. Or shoddy police work. Holly Golightly, I'm glad law enforcement is going through RHS with a fine-tooth comb. The doll was very weird. Yeah, you know, I think some of the most damning and scary information was on his computer. The sites that he searched. The bondage sites, the sadistic sites, the sex sites, the child porn sites. That shows you who we're dealing with, you know. A serial killer that, you know, if you watch the show, Michael, how are you, buddy? Happy Cappy, with Dr. Joni Johnston. The psychopathy, I always say that word wrong, psychopathy of a serial killer is usually of a sexual sadist that has no empathy toward his victims. In fact, enjoys inflicting pain. And that could be evidenced by the fact he had, we talk about trophies, he had the cell phones of Maureen Brainerd Barnes and Melissa Barthelemy, and he used them to call the families of these victims and tell the families what he had done. I mean, that is a Happy Cappy, yes, the computer searching shows what's on his mind. Yeah, he's a demented sexual sadist that has no empathy for people. Brad R. Bill, what was very impressive is how the police had, well, you're right. I think one of the reasons that this task force and this investigation went the way of a grand jury was because they were trying to keep all the evidence and all the information secret. And we know that the work of a grand jury is secretive. Linda, did they find any bodies in his yard? So far, they're not speaking to that. And we don't know. They were going to keep it close to the vest what they found in the search warrants. Aurora Knight, good morning from Alaska. Love and appreciate the no-nonsense approach, your knowledge and experience. Thank you so much. That's very much appreciated. Barnesim, I'm on the Gulf too. Lower humidity helps. Yes. So yeah, they sort of want to keep certain things close to the vest. What they recovered, well, you know, someone just said they remember a case from, I think, 65 or so, where the police got accused of planting evidence. Look, in every case, look at the OJ case. I mean, the detectives, the LA detectives were accused of planting evidence. Yeah, they were accused of, well, there was some shoddy work with the evidence, you know. But one of the things that, when I bring this up to people, you know, because there's still a lot of people out there that really do believe that that OJ was innocent, and that's, you know, he was found innocent. Whether you believe that or not, that's your own. He was found innocent, so he's innocent, right? But is anyone aware that they found his blood evidence in the crime scene where he killed Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman? They found his blood in there. To me, it's game over. The case is over right there. He's convicted, you know. But the jury chose to believe that the police planted his blood there. So, right, he cut himself, which is, we're all saying that the potentiality in the Idaho case is that Brian Kohberger cut himself and left his blood in that crime scene. And we spoke to so many people. Ed Wallace, retired NYPD first detective, Barbara Butcher, chief of staff of the New York City Office of the Chief Medical Examiner. She said there was like a 99.9% chance that he cut himself. We're talking about the Brian Kohberger case. So it was the same thing. OJ, if you believe that he committed those murders, he committed them with a knife, right? And his blood was in the crime scene. So the potentiality is, yes, he cut himself doing those horrific deeds. So you can believe what you want to believe. OJ is a free man right now. He's walking around free. So I guess he was innocent, you know. And again, you know, there's many things we could. I'm not going to bring up. I mean, I don't want to talk about the OJ case. Let's talk about this case. So, what type of evidence did they uncover in this extensive search of the home? We don't know. Remember, we spoke last night a lot about potential trophies. Was there jewelry that is unidentified? Was there clothing, shoes, purses? So all of those things are a potential. And how about even trophies from victims that haven't been reported yet? That's a possibility. Remember we spoke about how at some point the police may want to show some of the evidence they recovered via the press, via the broadcast media, so that maybe someone related to one of the victims could say, that was my sister's purse, or that was my sister's necklace, or that was my sister's ring, or that was her watch. Umgar head's gone. Yes, that's what I'm talking about right now. He potentially kept jewelry as a trophy. So at some point, Jeanette Lawson, he had to get ego lazy at some point with evidence. At some point he's going to have to, the Gilgo Beach Task Force may want to show that evidence via the press, to more or less show it to the public and see if anyone can identify any of the evidence. Michael, do you think the return on the warrant will be made public? I believe so. I think this task force has been very transparent, more than I would have been, more than I'm comfortable with. I'm not that comfortable in these type of cases with being this transparent. I think that the police need to hold things back. Is there any potentiality that Rex Heuermann had an accomplice? I don't know. I'm not close enough to this case. I'm not privy to the case folder. I'm not privy to all the evidence. Could he have had an accomplice? I think that remains to be seen. Let's leave it at that. I'm not going to throw that into the mix, but that happy you think so. Jeanette Lawson just brings out some clue to other murders. In my belief, there will be many more. Well, I think that that's one of the reasons with the evidence that they collected in his house. Guy Ricky, you're right. There is no proof of that yet, but this investigation is quite early in regards to, do we believe that he stopped killing in 2010, 2011, 2012? Do we believe that he didn't start killing till he was 46 years old? Do we believe that he was exhibiting behavior that belied the fact that he was still potentially looking for victims? Carmelita, I wonder about his brother and the property he lives on. Yeah, I mean, you gotta look. An investigator can't guess. You can have hunches, but guess what? You got to follow up on the hunches with solid evidence. And that's the only way you can prove anything in a court of law. You just can't make things up. So you have to look at it and say, look, we connected this through this evidence. Shalane Thompson, why taunting people? Well, that's the modus operandi of a psychosexual sadist who has no empathy for his victims and enjoys their suffering, gets him off. That's part of who he is. So that's part of being a sexual sadist. And apparently most serial killers are psychosexual sadists, a sadistic predator. Catherine, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, someone just was talking about the evidence. Of course, we're looking for evidence. We can't pin anything on this guy without evidence. But the cell phone, the burner phones, the cell phone tower hits, whatever evidence they collected off his computer, which is voluminous, right? Whatever evidence they collected inside his home, we don't know yet. They haven't revealed it. Whatever evidence they collected from his office in New York City, again, we don't know. They took 4 computers there. Well, that has to be gone through by a forensic computer technologist. Whatever evidence they collected from that storage locker, things like that. You have a storage locker. That's probably where you're going to keep some of your, the prized possessions if you're a serial killer that you can't keep close to you. So you get a storage locker. In his private gun room, right, that was apparently locked by a large steel door, that potentially could be where he kept his trophies, his souvenirs, right? So all of those things are a potentiality. And look, the only way to prove a case like this is through Mary Lynn Mineta. Will he open up and tell all? Mary Lynn, I think the only way he would open up and tell all is post-conviction. If he gets convicted and has nothing to lose by talking, then maybe he'll tell his story. But don't forget, New York State also has the Son of Sam law. The Son of Sam law is a law that states that a criminal cannot financially gain through their crimes. So if he wants to write a book, if he wants to talk to the producers of a television show, he can't get paid for that. The money he would get paid for that goes to the families of the victims. So that's the Son of Sam law, named after a serial killer from the 1970s in New York who was known as the Son of Sam, who was also known as the 44 caliber killer. His name was David Berkowitz, and he's serving life in prison upstate. He'll never ever get out. So yes, this case, Catherine Kurgo, people who knew him said he gave off very bad vibes at times. Yeah, I accept all of that. I think just even watching the videos of him being interviewed by that realtor, he's like, I'm Rex Heuermann. I grew up on Long Island. I was just like, this guy's a real pathetic nerd, But there was something about him that was, to me, unlikable, And maybe I wouldn't have felt that way had I not known who he was and who he is. I guess because your mind, of course, prejudices you in regards to someone when you know who they are and what they've done. But he seemed rather obnoxious, and the part where he talked about his hammer that he kept with him. I forget how he described that hammer, but that was all telling. It was almost like, you guys are familiar with like Freudian slips, right? He said something and then he almost wished he hadn't said it, because it really painted a picture of who Rex Heuermann is, you know, and a dangerous guy. Yeah, when we talk about Michael, I believe Son of Sam wrote letters to taunt the police. Rex Heuermann called the families of the victims. Yes. The Son of Sam, David Berkowitz, actually wrote letters to the New York Daily News at the time. And Jimmy Breslin, who was a writer, he was sending letters to him. And then, of course, Jimmy Breslin was probably the greatest thing for a newspaper, that a serial killer was writing to a journalist from a certain newspaper. Just think about how that exploded their circulation. Oh, the serial killer's writing letters to Jimmy Breslin, you know. So that happened in the 1970s. And David Berkowitz was actually caught based upon a parking ticket that was written to his car. Sky Ricky, thank you so much for the $20 or 20 CA. I'm not sure what denomination that is, but thank you so much. Appreciated. Yeah, a regular summons cop wrote the car of summons, and that was the lead that led to David Berkowitz and led to the solving of the Son of Sam case. And if you guys weren't familiar with it, that are listening from another area, he would go to lovers' lanes where couples were either engaged and making out or having sex, and he would shoot both of them with a .44 caliber bulldog, a very powerful weapon. And he killed, I'm not exactly sure the amount, but he maimed people too with that gun. Just so horrific, and it sort of paralyzed New York City for all the time that he was out there, because people weren't going to clubs, people were getting off the street, people were not frequenting places that he had hit. So yeah, it sort of paralyzed the city for a while. And look, even with this guy Rex Heuermann now under arrest, many people, you know, feel or they don't believe that Rex Heuermann committed all of these murders, all of these Gilgo murders, that perhaps he only did the 4 or the 3 so far that he's charged with, and he's going to be charged with Maureen Brainerd Barnes as soon as they get enough evidence to charge him with that case. Guys, it's Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories, Backyard Beverage, Bitchin' with Bill. I want to thank all you guys for tuning in today. I'm battered and bruised from last night, but I got up off the canvas and I'm back at the mic today talking to you folks. And I want to thank all you guys for coming by today. 204 in the chat, 173 in the with the thumbs up, and Jeanette Lawson, not in Central Florida, 116 heat index. Wow, that's pretty damn hot. I guess you better stay inside the AC today, right? That's no joke. Michael, great show last night and today. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. We got a lot more great shows in us. I'm trying to, again, Michael O'Keefe live tonight at 7 p.m. It's a premiere. I had interviewed him last week as part of the Law and Crime Author Series. 7 p.m. tonight it will premiere. So if you're around at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, give it a watch. Guys, again, Renee V.O., respect, thank you. Good last night, not good if not challenging, right? Kala Lily, yeah, you know something? I don't want the ground balls, you know. I want it to be challenging. I want to go places that maybe are uncomfortable. And that's how you grow, that's how you get better. And guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm at 49 minutes, 30 seconds. It's about time to say good afternoon. And again, thank all of you for coming by. And again, tonight, 7 p.m., Michael O'Keefe, the first of a series of the Law and Crime Author Series. Guys,